I've been guilty of it, and as an industry, maybe sometimes we get a bit excited. These things just take time. I think, is Amazon going to adopt Lightning tomorrow? So I think it's happening. I mean, we got a public company that owns 140,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and they're hosting a Lightning conference. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Anyway, I think education is the biggest barrier. If everyone understood Bitcoin, it'd be worth $1 gajillion. The Fed tried to kill me, but I own sats. Not today, Jerome, not today. This is the Fed's fault. And for the first time, the Fed entirely mismanaged interest rates in such a dramatic way. I think Bitcoin is best understood as a public utility. It's owned by no one and operated by everyone. So I think that generally we're in this broad transition of central and local to decentral and global. I think technology is conjoining us all and connecting us all, and you saw that pretty violently with the internet. And I think Bitcoin operates under a similar framework. It's a digital technological innovation. So a computer science problem was solved. It resulted in a public utility. It just operates within finance as opposed to information. And I think under that framework, the U.S. should do what the U.S. was founded to do, which is liberty and justice for all. And it's a freedom-fighting country. It's the leader of the free world. And we need to take that super seriously. Guys, think at what the internet has done for job creation, for education, for source of wealth for America. Think about the natural wealth that the internet has created in production, in reserve assets. I mean, something like Google and Apple, these are national security interests for us as a country, and we leverage them in geopolitical warfare because they were founded and created here. And so I think people that own a lot of Bitcoin should live here. I think people that build superior technology on Bitcoin should be founded here. I think scarce instruments, we should own as much as we can. How I think strategically we can benefit as a nation, we can run the same playbook as the printing press, as the internet. We're like the crown of creation, entrepreneurship, free world. But I think equally, before my rant ends, is security risks. I think if you're going to sit and tell me that the internet is not the core nucleus of the conversation when it comes to national security interests, you'd be a liar. And so if you think of public digital utilities and digital public infrastructure for the world, China and Russia either are using or will be using this stuff, and to have no strategy at all is a losing position. So I think there's both advantages and just core baseline requirements to new digital public infrastructure. Technology and technological innovation and revolutions is what has driven humanity for hundreds of years. And look at the technology, what's grounded in it. Our use of cryptography, our use of distributed systems, our now use, because of Satoshi Nakamoto, distributed consensus. And it solved a critical problem in money to remove layers and layers of abstraction and to remove layers and layers of intermediaries. It conjoins us on a single standard, and it solves, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse, it solves fucking problems. And it's kind of that simple. I spoke a lot in DC about how not only is Bitcoin digital public infrastructure, it's a public utility that lives in cyberspace, as Michael Saylor likes to describe it, but it also embodies American ideals. And it drives us all towards a world that America believes in and works towards. I think that having a distributed standard that lives above the water is a way better technological solution to conduct value transfer. We consider ourselves a leader. We're ready. We can handle any demand that's necessary. I think as an industry, and I can speak not on behalf of the industry, but on behalf of the company Strike, we've been trying to figure out where exactly Lightning is most organically valuable to the world now. I think everyone has a vision of where the world's going to be 10 years from now, and I think we're all generally correct. But how can we help today? We've seen really global in every respect, for our consumer app to our enterprise API business, global. So we plan on doing a lot more of that. People love buying Bitcoin from us. In Q1 of this year, we were one of the top US Bitcoin brokerages, which is insane because we're barely even trying to do that. And so people love to buy Bitcoin from us. People love to move money globally with us, both at the enterprise level and at the consumer level. And so that's been a lot of our focus. I've been guilty of it, and as an industry, maybe sometimes we get a bit excited. These things just take time. I think, is Amazon going to adopt Lightning tomorrow? Probably not. But if we look back 5 years from now and all big tech is using Lightning to interoperate with each other, we're going to be like, wow, did that happen fast?
Yeah.
It's about 50 years of payments innovation would be theoretically wiped out. So I think in the moment, it feels like a grind. In hindsight, it's going to feel like a blink. And so I think it just takes time. I think it's happening, but it's just happening slowly. The executives in the company and their corporate strategy understands the technology, understands the regulatory clarity, understands generally a strategic angle that they want to take. Then they engage, they get their hands dirty, they understand how to price it, they understand the margin benefits, how to go to market with it. And I think that just takes 1 to 2 years. And I think we should all be okay with that. So I think it's happening. I mean, we got a public company that owns 140,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and they're hosting a Lightning conference. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Challenge-wise, education is always grounding. No matter what year Bitcoin's been around, it's about educating. That's why we're here at this conference, is to segregate Bitcoin from crypto, segregate Bitcoin from Lightning, understand the differences, the advantages, some of the constraints technologically. So education's a big one. And then I think, I'll speak just for Strike, not the entire industry, but problem solving is like, okay, I got every license and every feature you could ever want. I got it. What do you want, though? And do you know what you want? And what do your customers need? And I think that that's just a journey that every new industry has to go and embark on. So anyway, I think education is the biggest barrier. If everyone understood Bitcoin, it'd be worth $1 gajillion. Bitcoin is superior savings technology. It's the best designed money in human history. And I think also, for the record, it's the first human-engineered monetary instrument, by the way. I think people don't necessarily appreciate the fact that we didn't design gold, we found gold. We designed Bitcoin, so we built it for our own needs and interests, so it's not an argument. It's kind of a no-brainer of like, hey, why is this thing so cool? It's like, because we fucking made it with our hands, that's why. So I think it's the best money of all time, and you use money to save, you use money to protect purchasing power, you use money to trade, so all that money encompasses, I think that's the use case for Bitcoin, the asset, and as a monetary instrument, it's superior payments. I think it's public digital infrastructure for us all to interoperate. It removes the layers of abstraction and the intermediaries, which ends up driving value back towards those participating, which is super, super important. The Fed tried to kill me, but I own sats. Not today, Jerome, not today. No, it doesn't keep me up at night, but it's terrifying. I do think a lot about the state of society and humanity and civilization and what we're all generally up against, because despite passions and convictions, we're all human, and I'd love to see a peaceful resolution to what is turning into like warfare, arguably, both literally in a geopolitical sense and then practically people's savings being deprecated and inflated away. And the Fed ruined everything. I was on CNBC, and Kelly Evans, who I love, and I know deep down she loves me back, her and Tyler were trying to tell me that this banking crisis is deflationary. That's not the case. Of course it's not. It's the Fed's fault. The Fed blew up everyone's balance sheet. The Fed caused this, and the Fed has to then fix it. If they don't, then the whole thing's going to crumble. So by nature, then, it is inflationary. I've been calling out for a long time that the Fed is going to have to start to warn the market that inflation's not coming back down to 2%. They're going to have to change their target, and those days are over, and now you're starting to see those headlines. And that's why you're seeing gold as a leader start to break the 2,000 threshold, and it's holding and climbing, and Bitcoin is lagging behind that. Bitcoin's just going to be the far faster horse because it's got a lot of price discovery left. So equities, stock market, the S&P have a relationship with interest rates. They have a relationship with the liquidity in the system. Things like everything between something like soybeans that you grow out of the ground all the way to Bitcoin, which is programmatically finite in its supply, will start to trade separately, and you're already starting to see it. So the market is just listening for the Fed to push out Wall Street Journal headlines that inflation's not coming back down to 2%. We don't know where it's going to land, but it's going to be higher than it's ever been, and the market's already starting to price that in. So I'd own Bitcoin, and I'd own anything scarce, I guess soybeans if you're into it, but anything that doesn't have a relationship to interest rates. The Fed screwed up, and it's the first time, by the way, that the Fed's credibility is so damaged, and you're seeing Russia, China, everyone's pouncing on the opportunity. None of this is a coincidence, guys. Like, they are getting aggressive because the Fed is on their heels. The Fed made big mistake. They was entirely mismanaged. It's entirely their fault. Our central bank screwed up. Our opposition can now be aggressive. I feel like we are hands up in the corner of a boxing ring. We're waiting for the round to be over and for the referee to break it up, and we're just getting wailed at in the corner. And unless you own something that doesn't have a relationship to interest rates and that has a scarce supply, you're never going to afford anything. It's impossible to analyze on a day-by-day basis because they're not giving you all the information. I think you need to proceed with caution, and along the narrative that this is the Fed's fault, and for the first time, the Fed entirely mismanaged interest rates in such a dramatic way. At least recently, this is a phenomenon in that sense. And so the reason I explicitly restate that is because the Fed has to hide how they're fixing it. If the Fed were public about absorbing this into the monetary supply and covering all losses, then the market would panic and things would go haywire. So they're trying to hide it. That's why they're treating assets at par. That's why they're socializing losses at JP Morgan Chase, is they're hiding inflation and they're hiding the recovery in private institutions and in loosely defined terms that nobody generally understands. And so the reason that you're seeing them ease the market into, who needs 2% inflation anyway? Why 2%? That sounds random. Why not 20? Bigger numbers are better, right? They're going to start to try and normalize that stuff because they're covering their tracks. And so by the time it's all known, it'll be too late because it's been hidden in plain sight for so long. So you're starting to see gold has never made moves like this since I've been alive. So yeah, you're not going to get your answers if you're looking for them. You got to have some conviction and protect yourself. I want people to know Bitcoin is public utility. It's digital public infrastructure. Nobody owns it. Everybody has access to it. It's a very powerful idea. It's infrastructure for money, like the internet is infrastructure for information. And I think I just wish a lot of love, honestly, right now is what I think the world needs. We're all human beings, and despite everyone's mistakes and misfortunes and arguments and disputes, we're all going to die. And so I think we all need to take a deep breath, stay calm, use the fact that we build tools and we innovate and rely on technological advancements to get us through what's becoming a really difficult time. And so my thoughts go out to everybody. I think it's only going to get worse, and I just hope everyone finds ways to navigate that, and I spend my time trying to be helpful towards that.